This is for all of our patrons here on Patreon. I want to thank you guys so much for another wonderful month. We're about to hit the summer months. Summertime is popular for training dogs, and I'm very happy to announce that we have a new studio and we are up and running for the next generation of Dog Training Revolution videos. And it would not be possible without our patrons here on Patreon. You know, we put all of your money to good use. All of the money that you give us goes towards our production. For example, let me show you our new lighting grid. We have all these suspended lights over here. Lighting is a big deal when you're making videos. And this is possible because of your funds and your contributions, so thank you so much. You're helping me to help people around the world teach their dogs and really do what I love, so I can't thank you enough for that. I always enjoy getting your questions here on Patreon too. This is the only way I currently offer for you to have direct communication with me. So if you are contributing at the appropriate tier, then you can ask anywhere between 1 and unlimited questions every month. So keep that in mind for those of you that might be considering it. Those details are on my Patreon page. This question is from Eggy Egg on YouTube. You gotta love that name. I recently got 2 German short-haired pointer puppies at 10 weeks old, and they're impossible to train when they're together, but when they're apart, they cry. Does anyone have any advice? Yes, I do have some advice. Having puppies, like especially 2 at the same time, can be really challenging. I mean, it's like 3 or 4 times the work to train 2 dogs at the same time. And the behavior you're describing is perfectly natural, especially if they were litter mates, they come to expect to be around one another. So my advice is definitely you can only work with them 1 at a time. But in order to minimize that anxiety that they have when they're apart, it's a good idea to get some energy out of them just before training them so they're more likely to relax. But you may have to let one dog stay in the bedroom while you go to the park with the other one and do separate trips. I mean, it is a lot of work. So you have to make sure that you're not distracted by a puppy in the background who's whining and crying while you focus on teaching the other one. I think a lot of us have this idea that we can just train 2 dogs with one kind of sitting politely in the corner until we get to them. And that should be your goal. Moving forward. But for right now, you have to first get each dog to a reliable down stay and stay while they're distracted so you can work with them in the same room eventually. But for now, it's just double time working with each one. This question is from Jana Katerina on YouTube. She says, "Hey Zach, nice video." This is from a recent video we did. "I have a question for you. What do I do when my puppy tries to hump me? He's probably showing dominant behavior, right? Should I stop him then? Thank you for taking the time to answer this." Okay, well, I will answer this. So I typically will deal with puppies and dogs that hump in the same way that I would deal with unwanted jumping. In other words, show them the behavior that you want. In this case, sit politely to get interaction from a person. Dogs don't know that humping us isn't really the appropriate way to interact with us. So we have to show them what we want. Showing them that they need to hold their sit-stay, just as in the case of teaching a dog not to jump on you, is really all you have to do. Regarding dominant behavior, I don't really see things through the lens of dominance with dogs, simply because it's a word that has so many different meanings to different people. And so I don't really find it helpful, especially for things like humping. I mean, dogs hump other dogs when they're playing with them. They'll hump people. Sometimes it's a precursor to a fight. Sometimes it's excitement and they're just trying to play. So humping can mean a whole variety of things. Oftentimes we're really tempted to kind of attribute a certain quality to a certain behavior when the reality is behaviors can mean lots of different things. This question is from Helena McGrath. She says, "I've been seeing more dogs wearing head collars on their walks. It seems like a good, safe way to walk your dog, but I'm not sure. Could I get your input on that?" So a head collar goes around a dog's snout in the way that a halter does for a horse, and it discourages pulling. So when they pull, they're kind of guided off to the side instead of walking in a straight line. So that in and of itself discourages the pulling. I think they're a great alternative to things like choke, prong, and electric collars, but they have some of the same problems that those have in that they're not really going to teach your dog. They're just a patch, and patches don't teach. So the best way to teach your dog is to teach them how to walk nicely on a leash without relying on some superficial tool, whether it be a choke prong or electric collar, or even a gentle leader or even a head collar. The only time I typically will recommend that someone use a head collar is if their dog is physically too strong for them and they're likely to get pulled over by their dog because they just have a giant dog. I don't recommend them too much, but I also don't put them in the same class as other aversive training tools because they're not engineered specifically to cause pain or discomfort in the way some of those other collars are. So this question is from Danielle. I'm going to paraphrase it, but basically Danielle calls her dog jumps on her, and she wants to know if she should discourage the jumping or reward the fact that her dog came to her. You kind of have to prioritize your rewards based on the importance of the more important things. So in my opinion, the fact that your dog comes to you it outweighs the fact that your dog comes to you and jumps on you. So yes, I think it's a reward. But you ought to find in pretty short order, if your dog is coming to you willingly and you're using a treat, you ought to be able to focus on then putting them into a sit and just withhold that extra moment before they start to jump. And it's very easy to anticipate that your dog is going to jump because you're asking the question. It seems like it's a pretty common thing. Now let's kind of look at this from another perspective. Let's say you have a 110-pound dog, you call them and they jump on you. And let's say you just happen to be a really small person and they might jump on you and knock you over. In this case, you would want to prioritize teaching them how to sit politely right from the beginning and not knock you over. So it kind of depends on your situation and the context of the situation, but good question. This question comes from Hannah H. Zach, what's your advice for stubborn puppies? Puppies aren't stubborn, they just don't know anything yet. You gotta teach them. So it's kind of a cop-out when we refer to our dogs as stubborn. It's not that puppies are not doing things and not listening to us because they're choosing to rebel or to be stubborn. It's probably because we as trainers are taking steps that are giant and expecting our dog to fill in the blanks a little unreasonably. So it probably just means that you're not yet as good a teacher as you will be in the future. But keep watching my videos and I'll walk you through all of that. But usually it's the person that needs a bit of an attitude adjustment if they think their dog is being stubborn. I hope you found this video helpful. Again, thank you so much to all of our patrons here on Patreon. You guys are incredible. And I'm really looking forward to making our next generation of dog training videos and just having a lot of fun with it. Keep that support coming, and please let me know if there's anything I can do for you.